Over the last number of years, Tucker Carlson has grown the largest cable news show and now may be showing signs that he's planning on running for president. All right, a few things I have to lay out before we go any further. I make a real effort on this show, as I've explained, to really cover the stories of the day in a way that is not needlessly inflammatory to the other side, that honestly and objectively presents the facts as they are and then adds on my opinion, but doesn't let personal emotional stuff get too much wrapped up in my commentary. But let me just say, in the spirit of full disclosure, there are truly few people who make me more enraged and wound up inside than Tucker Carlson. And to any conservative who might be watching, don't think that means I won't be covering stories about him in that same honest manner. I absolutely will, and any facts that I present to you about him, I will do my absolute best to make sure that they are well researched and all of that good stuff that I always want to be doing. To be purely honest and to tell this story in the most upfront way possible, I have to let y'all know, I think he is so dangerous, so dishonest. I think he has a even more malicious mindset than, and I know this is gonna be weird to hear, than Donald Trump. I definitely think Tucker Carlson has the potential to be more dangerous, more malicious, more damaging than Donald Trump. And as I'm saying this, I just realized that I have kombucha still sitting on my desk. It's Synergy. This makes me feel like Russell Brand. Hello, my amazing subscribers. Welcome to this journey where we're going to the enlightenment.
Hello there, you 5.6 billion awakening wonders. Together we grow, the light shines brighter, we awaken together.
Okay, that was a complete side note, but the Synergy kombucha just made me think of him. By the way, Russell Brand, I don't know what the heck he's doing. He acts like he's some sort of progressive and on the left, but 100% is Trojan horsing in really bad ideas that are undeniably making people less informed and getting people hurt. So I would highly suggest against keeping up with and watching Russell Brand. But back to Tucker Carlson. So before we get into the story about him possibly running for president, why do I think that he's more dangerous than Donald Trump? Donald Trump, I know some people don't like hearing this, but you have to agree, is not super intelligent. He's really good at marketing himself. I'll give him that. He's really good at reading people. And specifically, I mean reading a movement, a broad group of people. He was able to pick up on what this Republican base wanted him to say, and he brought out a lot of new voters. And he's very talented in the way that he's kind of that entertainer. People find him funny. Okay. But he has a pretty simple way of thinking. It's Donald Trump is the center of the universe. Serve him. And so because the way that he could serve himself in this reality was to lead a movement that really ate up terrible views, that's what he did. I think he also has some bad views internally himself, but then his big motivator for spewing all of that and for acting in all of those ways was to appeal to this base of voters, and he did it well, and it did serve him as Donald Trump. But Tucker Carlson is much more intelligent. He has some of the same goals, but is much more diabolical, if I want to use that word, about how he wants to get this done. And I think while in Trump's ideal world, it would be a mess, he's not intelligent enough to make that happen. At least 100% a mess, right? It was very messy, but not 100%. Whereas Tucker Carlson has the intelligence and the manipulation ability and all of those skills to actually completely impose his vision onto America. He's also even better than Trump at the dog whistling and saying all this stuff that you can't exactly get him on because it wasn't explicit enough, but it's so clear that he's saying terrible, often very racist things cloaked in this, well, I'm just asking questions. So he really, really scares me. And he scared me just as a super prominent media figure. But then just a little bit ago, there was some chatter that maybe he had political ambitions. And that is so much more scary to me than him being in media. If he was able to run for president successfully, oh my goodness. So it was just a little bit of chatter, but then recently the most substantive indication came out in this report. Fox News host Tucker Carlson is raising eyebrows over his future in politics with the news that he will deliver a keynote speech at this year's Family Leadership Summit in Iowa, a forum that has traditionally been the gathering ground for Republicans with presidential ambitions. The event described as a chance for conservatives to be encouraged, inspired, and equipped to seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness in America today. Had Donald Trump as a speaker in 2015, speakers last year included former Vice President Mike Pence, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. All three have been floated as potential 2024 Republican candidates. I know you might read this and be like, okay, he's speaking at some event in Iowa. It's not that big of a deal. No, this is actually a really big thing in politics. They'll have these events that are known as kind of the presidential hopefuls events. So people who are thinking about running in the next election cycle go to this event and start kind of creating a conversation around them. So the fact that Tucker Carlson is headlining the event is a big deal. And if nothing else, he absolutely knows that this particular event has this history and reputation. So even if he's not for sure doing it because he's planning on running, he wants there to be a conversation and chatter about him running, which again, that's kind of a circular little equation there, because then he probably wants there to be chatter so that he can run. So of course, when you think about this, the first question that comes to mind is, okay, if he's doing it now, is he thinking about running against Donald Trump? So I'm kind of conflicted on this, because my instinct when I ask myself that question is absolutely not. Why would he risk running against Trump when he could just wait for Trump's time to pass, be a big media figure until then, and then go for it? But there is something to keep in mind. Political movements, especially ones this motivated by fear and hate, don't just last for decades and decades and decades. They definitely have a peak, then they're going to peter off. So Tucker Carlson may be thinking, right now, this is a moment where the movement is alive and I could capitalize on that. If I wait and Donald Trump passes, so may the movement as well, and I may have lost my chance, because there's a particular fire and rage among this block of people that Tucker Carlson is really good at tapping into, and is likely, if he is planning on running, hoping to tap into for his presidential ambitions. This would obviously be wild if that's the case and he is planning on running against Donald Trump in the 2024 Republican primary. I would be fascinated to see how that goes. And here's the reason why. Tucker Carlson has mastered reading this audience and then taking views they already have, dragging it even further, radicalizing people so far to the point where the only person they can look at and get their truth from is Tucker Carlson himself. So I don't think you can write him off as someone who couldn't take Trump's movement from Trump. We've also seen a little bit of rub between the two of them. Reading from Insider, despite promoting Donald Trump's platform issues on his primetime television show, Fox News host Tucker Carlson privately mocked the former president, according to reporting by the New York Times. Carlson also influenced Trump's decision to endorse J.D. Vance, Rolling Stone reported, and the former president regularly appears on Fox News shows, including Hannity, but the New York Times reported that Carlson criticized Trump for breaking campaign promises on air, and on at least one occasion declined a call from the former president, who had called to preempt criticism of a foreign policy move. So there may be some antagonism going on in between them. We have seen Carlson kind of allude to things that Trump has done wrong, and that may be him testing the waters, seeing if his movement cares more about the issues that they're so enraged about than the actual person himself. And Trump may have just been the emblem for what this movement stands for. And Tucker Carlson may say, hey, I can stand for that movement better than Trump can, even though it was originally his. So this is fascinating stuff. My hot take on this is I would prefer Trump to be in the White House than Tucker Carlson, but that's so awful. And the reason is, again, I think we can outmaneuver Trump. I do think his intelligence level isn't very high, despite the fact that he aced a dementia exam, as he likes to talk about a lot. But Tucker Carlson, I really don't know. He might have the sinister intelligence at such a level where he could defeat us, not just by getting in the White House. I'm talking about once he's in the White House, defeat us in ways that would be irreversible and unhealable. So, on that hopeful note, my amazing, subscribers. We're going to the Enlightenment, as Russell Brand would say. Cheers. Get your synergy on. Here's what else you need to know today. As everyone has heard by now, a massive leak came out of the Supreme Court revealing that according to a draft opinion of an upcoming case in regard to abortion, Roe v. Wade will be overturned. The European Union has decided and is expected to do a full oil embargo on Russia, which will be a huge hit to the Russian economy, but is very admirable because Europe is heavily dependent on their oil, so it will hurt them as well. The midterms are now officially in full effect, with the first primaries happening in Indiana and Ohio a couple nights ago, leaving in the Senate races Tim Ryan victorious on the Democratic side and JD Vance on the Republican side. And finally, the World Health Organization is finding that the COVID-19 death toll may be 3 times higher than reported. Be well, everybody.